A complete disappointment. The great fall of one of the most beloved game saga in history. The 6th generation of consoles gave birth to a series of mythical Dragon Ball games to date, and the 7th generation was in charge of bearing that legacy, and not in the best way possible. We are on October 25th, 2011. For Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi will arrive. It will be curious to talk about this subject since from what I have read in the last years, this game is in a pretty unbalanced position. Most of those who have tried it say that it's garbage and only a very small portion of players are going to defend this game, but if you ask me, I will tell you that this game has no way to defend itself like a Dragon Ball game. To kick off, this title was announced as one of the great Dragon Ball games of the next generation at the time and even came with the name Tenkaichi in its header. The trailers looked very promising, even the opening was very good, with an impeccable animation that reminded us a lot of the mythical styles of the Budokai intro, with the original music of the anime opening. The developers seriously thought things were going to work out well, that we were going to return to the golden era of the Budokai Tenkaichi. Nothing was further from reality. I usually start talking about the story mode of each game, but here an exception is necessary. What the hell were they thinking when they made the gameplay of this game? I don't even know why the name Tenkaichi is in the title. First hand, if you arrived expecting a Budokai Tenkaichi 4 or a new Raging Blast, forget it. It is a completely different concept that hardly includes fragments of what made the Tenkaichi great. The combat system is divided into two sections, close and far combat. This means that the controls vary depending on the distance you are from the rival. The controls alone feel very unfamiliar compared to previous games. Practically 80% of what we knew was changed, and with these changes, I would no longer consider it as an arena fighter, but as a kind of simulator with quick time events and interactive cinematics. Your life now is not a health bar, but a dragon sphere that changes color and number of points, depending on how much damage you are receiving. The key is also a kind of very unpractical meter. The combos are not even combos, they are actions that activate other consecutive actions, also depending on what your opponent chooses. It's like you pull off 3 hits and immediately the game makes random mechanic decisions to determine if you can continue the combo or not. What? You see, when we attack with the square, absolutely all the characters in the game, emphasis on all the characters, do the exact same 3-hit animations. After that, the game has a pop-up of a selection screen where we must decide whether to chain the attacks with a chase of blows on a scale or a quick combination of frenetic blows. The case is that one option does more damage and the other charges more your spirit bar. What is the spirit bar, you ask? It is the mirror that allows us to make special attacks. Some consume more spirit than others, but the last one can only be activated when you have it at the maximum. Similar to the Budokai Tenkaichi, there are key attacks and speed attacks, but not all work in the same way. Some can only be activated from distance and others from close combat. If you need to make a distance attack, being in a very close range, the game proceeds to make another random action to see if your opponent is allowed to do the attack. It is awful. When having the key to the maximum, we can press the D-pad up and activate a kind of enhancer which improves attack, defense and special techniques. While this is active, the key drops until it reaches 0. Besides, you will not be able to charge the key up to a certain point for a prolonged period of time after this. Isma, but what is the use of the key in this game if the special attacks are made with the spirit bar? Good question, my brother. What happens is that the key works as the backup measure for your character. If the rival pull off a special key attack, you can answer it, dodge it, or block it depending on your key level. The lowest one will only let you block it. A little higher you can dodge it, and a little more higher you can answer it with another key attack. Let's continue with the circus of mechanics with no sense. Attacks with triangle are those that can break the opponent's guard and also serve to start a combination of chain hits. Key bursts can only be used from the range fight mode, and if we hit them, they culminate in more quick time events, in quotes, quotes to continue our combos, as well as special attacks count as interactive cinematics if I like to be able to respond to enemy actions with the resources we have available, but it is still a lottery. It doesn't make any sense. There is no merit on the part of neither of the two players. The luckiest one will end up winning. As simple as that. The game is completely structured to leave no place for freedom. It is an illusion of a combat that is truly not real. They are only visual excuses by the developers to show the graphics section of the game, which, yes, it looks very good. The animations and effects of the game's attacks are very cool, but what is not right is letting this be the only basis for those who decided to create a new Dragon Ball game. If maybe it has not been very clear, the main reason why this game is bad, because it has no other word, it is poorly developed and boring, is because its kinesthetic is horrible. Kinesthetic is the measure as the way the players perceive the movements of a game, like walking, running, or fighting, like in this case. It is very stressful not being able to generate combinations of your own combat scenarios. Everything is practically in a script, and we only decide between the alternatives that the game gives us. I could count 6 or maximum 8 different combo animations, which after all are just one more cinematic. Yes, if they wanted to make a Dragon Ball game that looks cinematic and visually attractive, they achieved it. The attacks, the beam struggles, and even the animations of the combos are very well done, except because you have to see them 10 times repeated for each combat. But even trying to defend the game from that side, it is still something dangerous, because at that moment anyone could get to see advertising about the game, and the graphics were very attractive. Several people could be very unsatisfied with the result in the gameplay if they were trusted by only the visual section. Having already taken a bit about this, let's go back to the different options offered by the story mode. We have a little open world similar to the one we saw in Budokai Tenkaichi 2, where we can go to the place of the next event of the main story, or we can play past fights, see small previous fragments of the story, and look for points of interest with the Dragon Radar, such as the martial arts tournament. That's right in the middle of the Saiyan invasion, the good Tien takes a tournament for a berry. For what was the story mode, this cinematic and graphically attractive style also had a plus, making animations more credible, entertaining quick-time events, and even giving the luxury of putting boss fights like Vegeta's transformed into Great Ape and Metal Cooler, giving place to more gameplay possibilities, but well, it's not a great deal. Even so, this story mode has moments quite attached to the manga and positive points. There are new things like the chase fights, which beyond being monotonous and once again with horrible kinesthetic, provide new practices to the already overused Dragon Ball universe. The soundtrack is very good. In addition, I also like these methods where they use Vegeta's Explorer so that we can locate ourselves on the map and know where to go according to the levels of power he detects. Just as it happens in the series, the same happens with the Dragon's Radar function, but with characters like Gohan, Yamcha, and Piccolo. And the face that the characters make when they lose a shock of powers made me laugh more than once, I cannot deny it. They decided to start the story with the origin of Bardock in his fight with Frieza to prevent him from destroying the planet Vegeta. They did not start with the typical fight of Raditz with the Saiyan saga. Well, I would consider it a point in favor. However, the pace of the story is not handled very well. The presentation slides of the story are very long, which only makes you want to skip that introduction as quickly as possible. Between battles, we have cuts from the anime between missions, a little similar to what the Tenkaichi tag team did, only this time they added entire sequences at crucial moments in the story. For this same reason, the dialogues and cinematics in-game increased considerably. The developers had to exploit at least that graphic engine, right? As you progress throughout the story, you not only unlock characters, but you must also unlock special attacks. As I said previously, the graphics section had a notable improvement, both in character models and in particles of power and expressions on the faces. It has very good details of damage gradient in the characters, the wounds, the cuts, how the clothes are wearing out, and even also the destruction of stages. At least I think it is one of the best we have seen so far. The sky changes with respect to some cinematics. The ground is destroyed depending on the special attacks we make. I tell you, it is a show more than everything visual, but on a technical level, it is nefastic. The Hero Mode, a feature that I thought would give a fresh touch to the Dragon Ball story, but I was very disappointed. This consists that you can customize your own character, and by customize I mean that you can only put 3 different hairstyles, the same face, and 2 outfits which you can vary the color, and that's it. This is a concept that would be explored further in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Here your stats get improved as you fight and your skills can be widely varied. They provide us with a very generic alternative story, to which we were already used to at that moment with filler fights. They offer you additional boss fights, for example against Baby Golden Great Ape and with new quick time events, but in the end, no matter how much new content you put into this gameplay mess, everything felt poorly executed. I also find it incredible to think that just 1 year ago, CyberConnect had made such a great game with Ninja Storm 2, and then Spike came out and takes this out for us. The camera angle in both fighting modes are horrible. The game doesn't care in the less about the power levels of the characters, and why wanted to make a Dragon Ball game visually attractive and with such a great graphic load? Because they had to reduce the roster of the characters to 59 fighters. The truth is that they are not few for a fighting game, but it feels like many were missing that we already knew from previous Dragon Ball games, previous Spike games, the same developer. In conclusion, things did not end well for the franchise. Ultimate Tenkaichi ended up being a worldwide disappointment, and by far, the saga of Tenkaichi games had ended, and with the left foot, something that left the fans even skeptical with the next Dragon Ball games that the future would bring, games that surely we will also review here on the channel. I would love to know in the comments if you got to try this game back on those days and what was your experience with it. I will be reading you. Thank you very much for joining me in this Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi review series. The next will be the Budokai series, a very exciting journey that I cannot wait to bring you guys. Thank you so much for watching. That was all for today, and I will be watching you in the next video. Take care and see ya!